I'm gonna go ahead and record now.
Sweet.
Yeah, so screw Instagram Live. Nobody needs it anyway, right?
Man, I feel like I
Recording.
jinxed it.
Yeah,
Oh,
even now we have better audio.
it's a
That's
great
a
point.
plus. That's a plus. Yeah. So, anyways, I'll make this quick and snappy because I know you've
No.
got stuff to do. Thanks for taking the time to do this. I mean, you have so much going on. You were literally just on air. So tell me a little bit about that and what all you have going on now.
Well, I had to. I got the Spain. I mean, 2-0 already. Spain game. I started
Oh,
doing a thing with FanDuel to talk NBA because
yeah.
I need to talk NBA. I love NBA. It's my favorite. So that's been good. It's 3 days a week, just an hour a day. We're live from 9 to 10, so that's kind of fun to sort of be back in that vibe. But yeah, it's good. It was like there's the NBA is like the gift that keeps on giving. There's just even if the games are bad, there's something to talk about, which is amazing. And the games aren't even bad. They're actually pretty good right now. So
Yeah.
yes.
Like,
Yeah.
even the Spurs, I will say,
Whew.
they're at least entertaining at a bare minimum. It's like a young team. You see the development occurring right in front of your face,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, of course it's
Yeah.
not going to end well, but
No,
it's
and
still great.
they've had like high point like this last road trip wasn't great. And it was weird too because they sort of lost that spark that has been very fun to watch, which I think having this day off, playing Pelicans, have Thanksgiving off, and then the Lakers two more times it'll be interesting. But I'm hoping they get sort of that thing back because yeah, they're young, they're not dumb, like they're not going to win the championship, but they certainly have been giving it their all and trying, and so I want that to come back. So it's fun.
Right. Right, right. And I like that they're playing pop style, they're not
Yes.
doing the whole superstar thing or anything. It's just good basketball, good quality basketball. But
Yeah.
that and you got Formula 1 stuff too that you
Oh,
were covering,
right.
man, you're just all over, just
Right.
making it
It's
happen. But
fun.
yeah, but it's kind of how it's got to be though, right? When you're just
You
in
gotta
that
find out what
world.
you like. Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
find the stuff you like to talk about, and then stick with that. I mean, that I've now I can do that because I'm far along in my career where I'm just like, I'm gonna do the fun stuff I want to do.
Yeah.
At first, it was like, do you have to do the stuff you have to do? Not all of that was enjoyable, but
Right.
but now it's like, all right, it's the good stuff only.
Right, and that is definitely what's important, but we've got World Cup, and you said
Yes.
Spain is already ahead by 2 goals. I
Yep.
kinda saw that coming with
Yeah.
Costa Rica, but that's okay, that's okay. I'll still probably watch it later just to catch up and see just the bloodshed that's occurring as we're here on this Zoom. But just to start things off, okay, I figured we should go with kind of the heavier stuff first, so that
Oh,
way we
okay.
can end on a good note, like the
Smart.
conditions in Qatar, the craziness that's happening over there with human rights. I mean,
Yeah.
6.5 thousand migrant workers had lost their lives building those stadiums. And not only that, but just, you know,
Oh,
LGBTQIA plus, it's all illegal there. I mean, there's
how
a
do you
list
make it
of things. There's a
illegal?
whole
It's so
yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
Look, this happens a lot, I think, on the global stage because it's the global stage. And so we all have these ideas of how humans should be treated. And look, I'm going to start this whole thing because I don't want to, what about, I don't want to play the
Yeah.
whataboutisms because it's not fun.
Right.
I understand everybody's flawed and every nation is flawed. However,
Yeah.
the idea that so many lives were lost in just building these buildings for the sake of a soccer game in a nation that we now know, according to Seb Blatter, should never have been awarded the World Cup in the first place.
Right.
The insult to injury that must have added to these families of these men who were lost is beyond comprehension on my part. I just
Yeah.
don't get. We get the corruption, but I also don't get why we continue to award countries that we don't feel great about these amazing moments in sports history. And these should be prizes. This is a reward to be able to host something like this. And it should be
Right.
treated as such. Whether it be Russia or China or now Qatar, like we continue to give these people this spotlight. And I don't know why. I really don't know why. The idea that you can make someone's life an illegal thing, who you love is illegal, is laughable in my mind. I'm bummed out that the armbands got lost. That's one of those things you should have just done it. You don't talk about it. You don't say you're going to do it. You just do it.
Right.
It's just, and then let them do what they're going to do.
I
But,
like that take.
ugh, right? Like
Yeah,
I've
because
always lived
they
that
they
way.
gave them way too much warning, and then they threatened them
Too
with yellow
much.
cards, which of course, like, you might as well forfeit the game because someone's going to
Yeah.
get a double yellow, which is a red, and then they're going to be end up playing down 3 or 4 players. So you can't
Yeah.
blame the players after the fact, but for F's sake, I'm like trying to not
I know.
like
I know.
just play your cards a little smarter
Just
next
do
time,
it.
right?
And
God
be if
damn.
there's unity, like what are they going to do? Kick all of the no, they're not going to
Right.
do that. I saw a guy I know, Grant Wall, who does like a lot of soccer coverage. He's
Mhm,
the guy I think
mhm. Yeah.
here. Had on a shirt like it was like a rainbow shirt with wasn't being allowed into the stadium and was told that that's illegal. A shirt with a rainbow on it is so
Right.
offensive to
Right.
somebody. Is
Right, and I don't think it even said anything. It just
I
was
don't
a
think so.
rainbow, and because it had that's a symbol of, LGBTQ plus,
My
they had to
goodness.
nix it. Yeah, and what's crazy is how much this is exposed just the all of the really bad people in FIFA.
Yeah.
Like it's just exposed people on so many levels. I mean, board members being paid off so that they would give their bid to Qatar. I mean, the country was too
Oh,
small, the climate was terrible. Like there are so many reasons why this World Cup should not have been there. Like on top of the horrible human rights stuff that was
right.
already going on prior to that. And even then they had 12 years to kind of like remedy some of this, and they really didn't. They just kept digging deeper and deeper, and they were all migrant workers to make it
Right.
that much worse. They went and recruited these people, brought them in, and forced them to work as slaves pretty much,
Yeah.
like making it really difficult for them to leave and to go do other jobs. And then that's why you see these people working themselves to exhaustion and dying. 6.5 thousand people,
That's a
that's
lot.
that's a lot. And then they pull Budweiser. Come on.
And then it's just, oh, it's look, as sports fans, don't even take into consideration the players because for them this is also messy and sloppy and probably
Right.
not the most enjoyable experience, although their
Totally.
hotels look quite lovely. But
Right.
the for fans of the game, either those that are traveling there, for a lot of people, myself included, this is like a bucket list event to one day view as a fan. I'm sure you have to save for years, like to get the accommodations, to get the tickets, to get your flights. Like none of this is going to come easy, no matter where it's being hosted. But then on top of that, you throw in this just dirty, icky feeling of where it is and how we feel about where it is. I don't get it. Like, why are we making sports fans have to feel gross about something we all want to watch? I want to watch
Right.
every minute of this. There are
Right.
parts of me that feels gross about it, but it just sucks. And I hope that in the long run that we don't sweep all of the things that we are now talking about under the rug because the soccer has left and we all go back to what we are doing, because these are big things. These are big problems. I can't make another country do what I think they should do, but I
Mhm.
sure as hell don't have to celebrate and give them my money. And I feel like that is where this whole thing got completely out of control.
Right, but I also feel like on the flip side, I feel like by going there and by, like, speaking up and doing all of these things, it's a little bit like poking the bear. Like, I feel like that's kinda
Yeah.
really stirring the pot in a country that is not going to budge at all whatsoever. Like, I understand, like, wanting to make your statement to, like, your home country and the people that you support and know that you personally stand in solidarity, but I think, when it comes to, like, threats and whatnot, especially in
Oh,
in a country like that, that's where things get hairy. But then also, I can't help but think, like, imagine what it's gonna be like when the World Cup comes to the United States in 2026. Like, there's gonna be some finger pointing there too,
oh, for
I
sure. And
think,
that's the thing is like I get why people want to play what about. And
Yeah,
again, I have never
right.
I'm the product of a foreigner. My mom's not from here, so I grew up with sort of a different perspective on what America is and stands for.
Yeah.
And we've all sort of seen it. I mean, good lord, we woke up this morning to another mass shoot. Like we are
Yeah,
not perfect, and in no way do I
yeah,
walk around waving the flag saying that we are.
yeah,
The problems we have are also going to be under the microscope. It's just right now we're focused so much on this one. Also because it didn't help when they came out and said that this was a mistake. Like once you said this was a mistake to give it to them, it just opened up the floodgates. Then why the hell are we there? Why all these people are dead? Like this is
right,
just not okay. And
right.
yeah, and the games, look, the games have started. They've gone on. We've had some amazing upsets already. Like it's going to be fun to watch, but again, we don't have to celebrate where they are. We can celebrate the games and then hopefully keep conversations going. I don't think we're changing anybody in Qatar's mind, but who knows? Maybe one person out there that thinks one way is going to be like, yeah, this doesn't seem right at all.
Yeah, at least we could be planting a seed, right? And just making people realize, hey, things are done differently elsewhere, and maybe you should consider it.
Yeah, that's okay.
But it's funny that you mentioned like these upsets, because there's also a lot of pushback with VAR and the refereeing, and now people are starting to accuse the refs of being paid off, and there have been some really terrible calls by the refs, I will say, on both sides. But that Argentina game, I think, was very much deserved by Saudi Arabia. Like,
amazing.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, I've got a couple of memes for that one. I mean, it's so good. Like, there's one that said that the Saudi Arabian president actually made it a national holiday today, which I think is real. I don't think
that's real.
That's a very real thing.
They partied into the night, into the day. Like, they're just, why not? That's once in a lifetime.
Right. Why not? I mean, I would be celebrating too, but I will say Argentina is still my number one pick for the final.
You're not alone. I mean, as much reading as we've done and predictions from all the experts and whatnot, Argentina still seems to be above and beyond one of the favorites, but that is an eye-opening moment. It's also a scary moment. As far as the team, what I love the most about it is that Messi didn't back down and was front and center with press and media. And all I could think about was like guys on this side of the pond where things get really hard or poop hits the fan and they don't want to talk to me. I'm like, you know what? Good for him. Like, this is his team. He's the face of all of it. So he could have easily just hit in the back and he didn't. And I respect that.
Yeah. I mean, he is seriously the greatest of all time right now. Greatest player in the World Cup, hands down. And it doesn't surprise me at all that, he would take that accountability and just own up to it. You could see it on his face. It looked like his soul had left his body. Poor guy.
Which all I could think about was like, right? Like, that's not supposed to happen. All I could think about was like, I don't want to be the next person that has to deal with him today. Like, it's not going to be pleasant.
That's what I think they're going to do pretty well. And they're definitely going to get out of this like initial stage, no doubt, just because they're going to be back with a vengeance and some stuff to prove, like, no doubt. But there's another funny meme. It says live scenes from the Argentina Saudi Arabia VAR control room. And it's it's Ronaldo's face photoshopped onto the VAR guy. So I'm like, the battle continues. The chess match continues. For me, I would love to see, speaking of Ronaldo, Argentina and Spain in the final, purely just to see both of those two match up. Now, obviously, it's not a one-star show, right? But I still think they're two really solid squads that I'd like to see at least match up at some point, but
I feel like you have a decent shot at that. So I feel like certain teams will take care of business, and that the world would probably enjoy watching that. Even if you don't have a horse in that race, I think the world would enjoy it, just as sports fans.
Right. What about you? Who would you like to see if anybody could take it to the final? Who would you like to see?
It's crazy. I mean, obviously, I think we're supposed to say US because just it's improbable and would be amazing. Weirdly enough, I'm really excited about the match on Friday between the US and England. I think England is a roster of, even if you barely follow any kind of football, Premier League, any of it, almost everybody on that roster. That is how stacked that British team is. So the English team for me is fun to watch. And I look forward to Friday a lot. As far as the end, like, I thought France, obviously, like, defending, and then they lost Benzema, and I was like, that seems like a big deal, although they didn't seem to be affected by it all that much yesterday.
They have a lot of depth. They have a lot of depth. Yeah.
So I was like, maybe that won't affect it. And in my mind, I feel like it's France, England as the final. But I'm with you on the idea of, I'd like to see Messi get a World Cup. Like, I think it'd be fun to see, especially if they start out the way they've started out. There's a little adversity that they actually have to face. It won't be an easy cakewalk, and that's good for everybody.
Right. It's good entertainment too, right?
Gotta love it.
Keep it mixed up a little bit. England is awesome. And like, they're a huge team standing the way for the US men to even get into the round of 16 now at this point. I was so sad when they tied Wales, because going into it, I kind of expected them to lose against England, right? But now it's like they kind of have to tie. And if they lose, they can't lose by a lot. And then if they beat Iran, they have to beat Iran by a lot because it's pretty much going to come down to goal differential between them and
Right?
Wales. So I'm just like, damn you, Gareth Bale.
I know.
Go back
I
and
know.
play
It's weird.
golf.
The weird thing
Get out
about
of
Gareth
here.
Bale is like 2 weeks ago, I was screaming at my TV cheering for him with LAFC. And now I'm like, oh, now I hate you again. Like, this is brutal that he was America's sweetheart for about 5 minutes in the MLS Cup. And now,
Well, it's funny because somebody also shared a meme saying that he has his American club rooting against his own country. Like they're like, "Woo, go Wales!" And you're like,
it's
"What?
weird. It's so
What?
weird.
Like, no! Like you also have a player on the U.S. men's national team. Come on,
Oh,
people! Like, let's
yeah.
go." Yeah.
Priorities.
So there's that, and then there's another meme that shows this guy hitting a soccer ball with a golf club
Oh,
from the PK line just because
oh
Gareth
no.
Gareth Bale played so much golf. I think he played half the MLS season that he was there, played golf.
That's why it
And
makes sense.
so
That's why you pick LA. You just play
right,
year
right.
round. It's
Right.
perfect.
Best way to retire is not
Oh,
MLS anymore. It's
God.
definitely golf. Golf is the way to
Yes.
go. Yeah, so I mean, that pretty much, takes us through it. Like you're saying, Spain beating Costa Rica
Mm.
already 3-0.
Yep. 3
And
0 at 38-minute mark. That's, yeah, I got a lot of time left in this one.
oof,
Good
yeah, and then
God.
Japan upset Germany 2-1
Yes.
earlier today. Morocco and Croatia was a tie. And we
Uh,
have Canada playing Belgium later, so that'll
that one's
be a good
fun.
one. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I as much as I would like to see Canada win, I have a feeling it might be Belgium taking the cake
It
on
might be
that
a
one.
route. Yeah, it might not
Yeah.
be close, but I feel like Canada, look, they're happy to be there. It's been what,
Right.
decades? So I feel okay. That's a moral victory. I don't usually celebrate those, but in this case, I might.
Right, right. So, I mean, it's American soccer technically. It's
Yeah,
Canadian, but it's North American continent, right? And
they count.
it's a big deal just to have those teams playing in the World Cup right now between Canada and the US and Mexico
Yeah.
all hosting the World Cup coming in 2026. The first time 3 countries are gonna host the World Cup. That's a huge deal. Yeah, also sounds kind of logistically challenging, so that should
Thank
be
you.
interesting.
I
Like
always laugh because like my friends in Europe or relatives, whenever they come to the States for the first time to visit, they're just, especially just the state of Texas alone, they're always blown away how large this whole thing is. And now we've got 3 countries doing. Ooh, there's gonna be a lot of flying back and forth for the fans. Like I'm curious how that will all play out, but I don't care. It's going to be such a party. It doesn't matter. They'll figure it out.
yeah, I'm sure that had something to do with just trying to get the bid in North America, like those all 3 banding together to, win out over somewhere else. But yeah, it goes from Qatar, this
Thank
tiny
you.
little city, crammed packed to like across
With
an
no
entire
stadiums,
continent.
like
Yeah.
with nothing existing. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's just put it's another spotlight on how gross this whole thing was. It's like you're
Ugh.
right. We went from this place with 0 buildings in it that were standing to 3 countries that have a ton of stadiums that have existed already for a long time. Yeah, it's silly. It is silly, and I use silly in place of gross. So,
Yeah, yeah, silly gross. It's silly gross right now. Yeah, not happy with them at all whatsoever. Again, I'm happy that it's gonna be in the United States in 2026 and Canada, which is another super progressive
yeah,
country. I think that'll be good. And Mexico, just a good little melting pot there. And then, just like going back to just American soccer in general, just everything the MLS has done. Apparently there's 37 MLS players in the World Cup right now.
that's crazy.
Five US men's national team players actually have UEFA Champions League players. 14 US men's national team players are in the top 5 leagues in the world. So, you think about some of the guys who are left off the roster, and like that's a privilege to be able to leave those guys off the roster because they're playing in Europe right now and they're still not
Yeah,
on the roster, but MLS guys are. So I've been hearing a lot in the media about how MLS is no longer this retirement league, how they've really raised their standard and their level, and they've just come really far, so far in soccer. And I guess with you, like having been around the sports industry, I feel like soccer is something that has not really been a major topic, and it kind of only ever is whenever the
mhm.
World Cup comes around. Have you noticed, lots of happenings with MLS even prior to the World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was living in LA, that was the biggest eye opener for me. Obviously, they it's a LAFC is a relatively new team as far as age is concerned in sports, and the ability to, and it's one of the most overused phrases, but there is no other way to describe it. They built a culture so fast and so strong. Going to a game there was one of the most fun things I had done. And it was like, how is this already all just in step? Everybody's here. The fans they're invested. They are in it. Their chants are ready to go. You're like, they've been waiting for this. It's, you know what? I kind of compare it in a way to Formula One, because again, the rest of the world has been watching and enjoying these two sports for a very, very, very long time. And here we are over here, like, nah, we don't care. It's not for us, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Then finally we get on board. And I think a lot of us we just drink it up. We're trying to learn as much as we can, as fast as we can. Like, we're not going to be experts overnight, but I certainly want to make sure that I'm learning it and being respectful and trying to figure out as much as I can. But with MLS, for me, like I said, that MLS Cup, that final was one of the best sports events I've seen this year. It had everything that you could possibly want in a game. It had so much drama, injury and good Lord, fingernail biting. It had everything. That's all you want from any of it.
Like,
it's just a goalie that leaves, who's going to the Canadian team. And now, and then this kid who's born on the 4th of July in Philadelphia, he has to come in cold, and it was perfect. I love it. They kept talking about it on the TV, and then all of a sudden he's like, now he has to play. Like, did not see that coming. So I think MLS, that you see it with the cities. I mean, some cities have embraced it much faster and more than others, but the expansion of the league is not stopping. And that is the number one telltale of whether or not something is successful. The fact that they can continue to add on with the amount of money that's being invested into these teams is huge. So I'm with you on that. It used to be like where the old retired guys would come and get a quick paycheck and they'll live in LA and chill. But no, it's a much better product now. And I think it will only continue to get stronger and stronger as we embrace the sport even more.
Right. I love the marketing. You hit the nail right on the head with LAFC. I remember when that club formed, just being like, oh my gosh, they've already got it together so fast. They've got all the celebrity endorsements. They're like LA Galaxy who, like they just made them look like old or something,
overnight.
just like that. And then I love what Austin FC did this season as well. You're gonna have to go to one of those games since you're in the South Texas area now. Let me know, we'll get you in there or whatever. But it's great. They also have fantastic branding with Matthew McConaughey and just everything that they're doing, and I feel like the league in general really embraces that. And then they also like have this really progressive idea of like managing the league, versus maybe like an NFL where it's like unheard of for the Broncos to support gay rights. And then they get all this backlash, right? Versus like in the MLS, it's a very regular thing and you don't get nearly as much backlash. So, that is one of the things that I love about MLS, and just, the way, the people at the top also just talk about players and other media outlets and things like that. So it's definitely good start, I think, for US soccer, and I think it's only going to grow and get better, and I'm super pumped for that World Cup when it comes. But until then, we've got this one we've got to get through, and I'm hoping these young guys can get the experience they need for by the time 2026 comes around. But
like, I'm sure they left that game the other day just realizing that was a blown chance. Like, they should have won that game and had the points.
For sure. You could see it on their face. You could hear it in the interviews after the fact, just like, we just didn't keep up the tempo. They try to make it sound like they just couldn't keep up that high press energy, but really there were a lot of changes made on Wales' side that also caused a lot of trouble for the US team. So like, you don't want to take it away from Wales either, but at the end of the day, I will say that the US was a better team, hands down. It's just you can't take away that second half from Wales either. So
Friday's gonna be nuts.
Oh man,
I cannot wait.
I can't either. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. I think it's gonna be an okay game. Yeah.
I hope not. It's the perfect time of the day. We can all watch it. Like, it's perfect. So just, don't be a blowout.
Thank God. No 4 a.m. games for Pete's sake. Terrible.
Yes. It is tough.
Yeah. I feel bad for whoever has to watch those, but
those first games are rough.
Yeah, for sure. But Michelle, thank you so much for taking the time. I don't want to take up too much of your time either. And if you ever want to talk soccer, I'm here and happy to bounce back and forth. But so
I'm
Let's see
learning
what happens. Yeah, no, you're
slowly but
killing it.
surely.
Killing it. You're
We're
killing
getting
it.
there.
Yes, yes.
No, and thanks
So
for being patient with my
yeah.
lack of
Oh,
technology because the Zoom I can do. Apparently, I can't do Instagram
hey,
Live.
I was thinking going into this, like maybe I should have just made this a Zoom to begin with because you never know with social media. And then there's always, Instagram
I have
has
no
its
idea.
moments where it just decides to not work either. So, or
I'm
like
on
shut
it.
everyone down. But
I'm gonna try to do one before I die because then I
oh,
can make sure I know how it works.
yes, you've got this. You've got this. But yeah, no, I don't know. I give up too. I give up.
I
So
give up.
we got it
Done.
done. We got it done. But
Way.
yay. Awesome.